Ram Ram Ji, hello folks, welcome back to Reality Check with Arvind Swaminathan. Rather how shall I put it, a disturbing trend which I seem to finally come to terms with and understand what's going on. A few days ago, the High Court in Jharkhand observed a trend and gave a direction to the government of Jharkhand and to the central government, because they said this is not just a state problem but also a national problem. That was to evict all Bangladeshis from Jharkhand because they'd begun to take over the state. Now, one would think, how would they do that? Because most of these, if not all of them, are Muslims and they are Bangladeshis, all illegal migrants. What do? How have they begun to take over the place? Well, they come in through West Bengal, which is virtually an open border, thanks to the state government policy. And you know, Mamata Banerjee recently said, quite openly, that if that stir in Bangladesh continued over reservations, all those who were affected and their relatives and so on were welcome. She would give them refuge in West Bengal, which is like saying illegal migrants, please come. There's a big place for you here. Now these illegal migrants then wandered en masse into Jharkhand and Bihar. Next thing, they sit on a farmer's field or on a railway platform or on either side of a railway track or of a highway. Now when the railways want to evict them, we've got another problem. If you remember, not so long ago, I think a year or was it 2 years ago, the railways had a big problem in Haldwani. About 50 or 60,000 Muslims had encroached on railway land and set up a colony on either side of railway tracks. Obviously the railways are most annoyed because look, if they're that close to the track, anything this way or that way, trains are going to get derailed. And the railways will be blamed for accidents and crashes and deaths. And of course, the matter goes to the Supreme Court, who have decided that before you evict these people, what is your rehabilitation plan? Because they may be illegal migrants, but they're also human beings. Which is a very, very, I'm sorry to use the word, stupid and ignorant way of looking at it. Because it invites anybody and everybody to park themselves on anybody's land and say, okay, now you can't evict me. Why? I've got this Supreme Court order on my side. You have to find me some way to rehabilitate me before you can evict me. I mean, what kind of nonsense is this? What kind of a precedent has this Supreme Court set? Who was the judge who came out with this stupidity? It's like telling every Bangladeshi, you can come in here and we will look after you, give you food, shelter, money, jobs, everything, at the expense of our own people. Our people suffer, but they get everything. The result of this encroachment into Jharkhand are very disturbing. The tribal population in Jharkhand has decreased by about 11% over the last 5 years. Now that is huge. Now just think about it. 11% tribals have disappeared. What happened to them? Have they left the area, just run away? Have they been driven out? Are they dead? Have they been killed? Or have they changed their religion? Think about that. A lot of these Bangladeshis, they come in, they marry tribal girls. And then what? They now have an Indian identity, an Indian ID card, shall we say. They then either take over the girl's property or land, or they apply for land as a minority group, either as a tribal on her behalf or as him as a Muslim. They settled here. They've got land, they've got everything. And being a minority, they get all sorts of sops. Now you see what I've been saying often and repeating. I'm sorry I have to keep repeating, but people don't seem to pay attention. This has been since 1947. Call it a jihad, call it a war or battle, not battle, war against non-Muslims, especially against Hindus. If you look at any one of these instances or incidents, they're meaningless. And I said before, join the dots, and then the picture emerges. Okay, let's see. First, land grab. You've seen in many places on railway platforms, just outside railway stations, alongside railway tracks, alongside highways or expressways. Suddenly a mazar appears. Mazar meaning a gravestone, followed by somebody who sits there and says prayers, a Maulana or a Maulvi or something. Before long, a mosque appears, a business grows around it, and then a whole colony comes in. Land grab. Because once they put up a mosque, it takes years, if not decades, to even think of removing it. And even then, you've got to find someplace else to put it. And all these who've grown up alongside, you've got to rehabilitate them somewhere before you can move them out of there. Now you think of the danger and the threat to railway lines. They take a few stones out. And what happens? The balance shifts and some of the rails drop down a little. You have a derailment. It doesn't take much. That is the threat, and then the railways get blamed. Accidents that happen are horrendous. They're not nice. And the railways and such staff get blamed for it. It gives the opposition a perfect opportunity to scream, the government is not doing that, the railways minister must resign, the prime minister must resign. Why? Because it is these same opposition states that bring in these illegal migrants and house them all over the place. Now you see, what do you do without this? Land grab. You can't move them out without rehabilitation programs. The moment you talk about sending them back to Bangladesh, 7 mothers faint. The opposition screams blue murder, these are human beings and so on. And the Supreme Court agrees. And while these guys are here, Indian citizens are unemployed. Another thing for the opposition to browbeat the government with. This horrendous unemployment problem. Who's behind it? The opposition. Because they do not allow the government to do anything. Okay? Recently somebody sent me a clip about a police raid in a bar in I think it was Lucknow. I hope to God it turns out to be a fake. I really do. Because what happened? What did they find there? 15 young ladies, all from well-to-do Hindu families, Hindu girls, no? Or in all sorts of compromising positions, with 15 boys. All the boys were Muslims. Love jihad, the honey trap. The second part of your land grab and conversion, either through marriage or through coercion. Then other side, one more side of it or aspect to all this is the Waqf Act of 1995. In all these tribal areas you get all these Maulanas and Maulvis and Waqf board people going around telling tribals and SCs and STs, get out, this is Waqf property, you can't stay here. Now those are tribals, they know nothing about all this, the law and so on. They just know they belong where they have been for decades or centuries. And when they told us suddenly get out because this land belongs to the Waqf board, they don't know what's happening. And I said, no, isn't there any way of stopping, any way to make sure that we can stay here? Yes, there is. Convert to Islam. There you are. Coercion to convert them to Islam. So there you are. Honey trap, love jihad, land grab, and now coercion. Now where does the money come from for all this? Aren't you forgetting the good old halal certification scheme? How much does that create in terms of cash or funds every year? 2 to 2.5 lakh crores? They're not short of money. So don't give me that twaddle about poor Muslims. They're not. They got all this money backing them. And in many areas, Muslim youngsters, young boys, are given money, motorcycles, stipends to go around dating non-Muslim women or girls. Why? To convert them, to make them produce children through Muslims, so that no other group can have children with them. I know it sounds rotten, it is, but they're doing it. Now it's not just fake money coming in from Pakistan. It's money which is being extracted from within India. And remember one other thing, where does it go? It goes to an organization like Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind, which, now remember this Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind is affiliated to the Deoband Ulema, which is one of the most influential Muslim organization, or how shall I put it, ruling elite of Muslim organizations in India. And think about that. All this, and the aim being to ensure fewer children being born in other groups and more of them among Muslims. You see, remember, a girl taken away from one of the other groups is a gain of not one but 2 children. Every child is actually 2 children. One born as a Muslim and one in the other group who is not born, because the girl is now with Muslims. So we may think, no, it's not like that. It is like that. Like it or not, this is what is happening. You've heard of another thing. Whenever you went to a halal certified restaurant And this came to light in a court in Tamil Nadu, where they claimed that, well, let's put it this way. Any Muslim chef in any of these restaurants, before he sends a plate out, he spits in it. And the court was told, this is in Tamil Nadu, that this is a part of Islam. Now recently somebody sent me a clip, a little translated thing that said that Deoband ulema had instructed all mosques to spread this out through their Maulvis, Maulanas and Imams and so on, to spit in other people's dishes, to give them unhygienic, rotten fruit, rotten vegetables and so on, unhygienic water and so on, to spread diseases among all other groups. Hopefully, quite a few of them would be fatal cases. Why? And we just sit there and say, no, we must look after these minorities. Before long, with all these things going on, all minorities will only come under one roof. They will all be Muslim. Then think of what will happen. Because your SCs, STs, tribals and your Dalits. That is the major drive at this moment. Once that is done, it's the other Hindus. Where will we go? USA? Now you think this is one aspect of what the world is doing to India. And who benefits most? The USA and China. Why? Let me explain that. A whole lot of IITs came up, institutes of technology. One was in Kanpur, one was in Bangalore, I think, one is in Calcutta and all such places. And the main worry has been that the top graduates from there don't find jobs here. Of course they don't. They were never meant to. Those people were supposed to go to the US. Why do you think 30% of the millionaires in Silicon Valley are of Indian origin? Why are 35% of the scientists in NASA of Indian origin? Where did they come from? From these institutes, set up with American collaboration, notably the Ford Foundation. Remember what we said before, Ford Foundation? Training them here is a whole lot cheaper than training them in the US. Plus, you find that the average Indian who gets to those places is way ahead in terms of intelligence to any of them in the UK or in the US. You've got a whole base. Now here's something else people don't understand. You remember Idi Amin in Uganda? He turfed out all the Gujaratis, who were a very wealthy group there, kept all their wealth and sent them out. Most of them went to the UK. They were almost penniless. Within 5 years, with all the wealth that he'd confiscated, Uganda went bankrupt. Whereas the Gujaratis who went to UK in 5 years were again wealthy people. Which should tell us something. It's not the tangible wealth which you take away or give. It's what people have between their ears, something you call brains or brains. That is what is necessary. And the brain drain was so huge from this country to the West. Created so much wealth for America, which is what they wanted. Wealth being created there, not here in India. And you've got all these opposition people, what are they doing? Trying to ensure that no wealth is created here. No manufacturing is done here. They're trying very hard to ensure that India is not a safe place for foreign companies to invest. because they want these guys to go abroad. Why? They're not easy to govern. Intelligent people, you can't keep them down. They will ask some very, very awkward questions. They will. That is why Narasimha Rao said, if you're intelligent, this is in the mid-1990s when he was Prime Minister, he said, look, if you're intelligent, you think you're capable, get out, we don't want you here. We only want mediocrities here. And the present opposition are doing exactly that. They're doing everything in their power to make India look bad so that people do not come to invest here. Once Americans or European or even Chinese companies start investing in India, all those commissions from abroad are finished. India then becomes very difficult to govern for these people here who don't have the mental ability to cope. What has the opposition been trying to do? I'm not talking about now. It started off in the 70s. Remember around 1972, Indira Gandhi de-recognized all the princes and all the Maharajas. Took away all their powers. Unfortunately, what else she did? As a result, you take away one power group, something else fills that vacuum. Political Maharaja families. Almost every state has them. What do? What the present Congress party is trying to do. Each state has its own political Maharaja family. And the Congress party hopes to sit on top of them all, sitting from Delhi. Is what they're trying to do. And as Udayanidhi Stalin said just before the last general election, to them Hinduism is akin to COVID or cholera or typhoid, something to be eradicated. Need I say any more on that point? And you still won't wake up. You still won't listen. I shudder to think of what could happen and what might happen. Because if you guys don't wake up, as I said, there's not going to be an India. This is the beginning of the Tukde Tukde gang. They're trying to break India apart. Recent roaring or shouting in Parliament have shown the Congress party seems to support secessionists like the Khalistanis and Amritpal Singh. Who is a Khalistani? They support him. Oh yes, he's a good guy. Mamata Banerjee, totally Bengal and Muslims. Stalin, totally against Hindus. Kerala has always been totally against Hindus. And now even Uddhav Thackeray is against Hindus. See the war against Hindus. And Hindus just bewildered. They still have either their head stuck in sand, ostriches. Or they just don't know what's going on. Maybe because they don't want to know. Now you think of the other psychological damage that's being done to Hindus. Hindus are being made to feel that they are rotten people. Until about 10 years ago, most Hindi movies which held sway all over the country were from Bollywood. That's Mumbai. Who are the biggest stars? Amir Khan, Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Saif Ali Khan. Now, apart from Salman Khan, who is not married, all the others are married to Hindus. Love Jihad. Now you look at a lot of the movies they've made. always poking fun and making Hinduism look stupid. You remember the movie PK? He was totally anti-Hindu. But the Muslims, oh, they're good kids. They're wonderful people. It's always, you'll see in these movies, a Muslim is reliable, solid, sound, hardworking, very honest, and very dependable. But the Hindus, they're ratfinks. They stab you in the back with the drop of a hat. We have been made to believe that we Hindus are rotten and Muslims are good people. This is one aspect which we haven't looked at yet. I'm glad the Bollywood era has almost come to an end. It's Tollywood that's begun to take over, which is a little more, how shall I put it, rational in its outlook. So even they are beginning to go over to this way of thinking, possibly because a lot of it is based in Hyderabad or Telangana, which is a very, how shall I put it, Islamized area. So you see, look, the major movies, then you have love jihad, land grab, coercion, and just peppering us with Islam. Every area has madrasas and mosques. And I mentioned this before. How many new temples have come up in India since 1947? Fewer than 100. Remember that. How many new mosques have come up in India since 1947? Any idea? Last count it was something like 600,000. Now that's not a joke. Now when you see all this, couple it with madrasas which have been raided, and they come out with all sorts of assault rifles, including AK-47, pistols, handguns, swords, both old type swords, genuine swords and homemade ones, and in one case even an M16 machine gun capable of firing 8,000 rounds a minute. And these were found in a madrasa. You think how many mosques and madrasas there are which might have more of these. What are they building up for? Armed takeover? Over and above this mass conversion? And this is that Nehru Gandhi family. Nehru recognized and said, yes, you are free to convert as often whomsoever you want. And Indira Gandhi in 1974 recognized the Muslim Personal Law Board. Here's another organization. Now, according to that family, you can do anything to Hindus, you can enforce any law on them, but you mustn't touch Muslims. Oh, no. You can't do that. It isn't until this government came into being, this BJP government. Triple Talaq has been banned. And just as well too, because now all women, including Muslim women, are equal. They can also go to court and claim alimony, something they couldn't do before. But what else has happened? The moment they try even speaking about CAA, Seven Mothers Fate, the moment you talk about an NCR, again, same thing. It's not designed to take away anybody's citizenship except that of those illegal migrants and Rohingyas who don't belong here anyway. It's like Donald Trump trying to build that wall across on the Mexican border to ensure that people don't just walk in. We've got to do something similar here. Let's get that straight. Because until we seal those borders, we're never going to get out of this trap. So, we've also got to change this attitude. Muslims at the moment, they can abuse Hindus, they can abuse Hindu gods, deities and temples and so on. You mustn't do anything to them. No. They're a minority. But a Hindu, dare he say anything? Sartan Sajudao. You know what that means? Chop his head off. And they've done it a couple of times. And what happens to them? Nothing. They get released. Such is the kind of opposition we have. Muslims can get away with anything, and the rest of us have to suffer. Well, it's about time it changed. And Mr. Modi and your BJP government, you better start taking action. For one thing, the Constitution demands a uniform civil code. You don't have to do much. There is already a Hindu civil code. All you need to do is tweak it a little. Instead of a Hindu civil code, change that to either Indian or uniform civil code. Once that is settled at the center, that's it. Every state has to implement it. Why? This is what the Constitution demands in all the territories of India. And if you don't do that, you should have done it in the previous Lok Sabha. You slipped up, you didn't. Do it in this one. Or forget even India. As Rahul Gandhi and co keep saying, India isn't even a nation. It's a union of states. But then so is America. Why doesn't he go and tell them that they're not a nation? Well, let's get a few other things straight. A uniform civil code means that the law is equal for all. You better believe it. At the moment, only Hindus come under it. No other community. Why? It's the Hindu civil code. The Muslim Personal Law Board has no place in this country, nor does the Waqf Act of 1995. Why? Are you trying to tell me that Muslims own every piece of land in India? Because that is the power given to them under this Act. Yes, the BJP government is contesting that. And now the Supreme Court has made this ruling that they must produce evidence that either they own the land or the people who gave them that land were the actual owners and had the right to give it to them. Otherwise, India belongs to Muslims. Every square inch of it. That has to be repealed. The CAA has to be implemented. If they don't like it in West Bengal or Tamil Nadu anyway, tough. If they try playing silly fool, get the army out or bring in President's rule and sort the place out. If you don't have the guts to do that, Mr. Modi, please leave, please go. We'll have to find somebody else to do it. You painted yourself into a corner, Mr. Modi. You have to fight your way out. But please get all these things together. Remember all the things I've said. You join the dots and you get the picture. It's a concerted war against India. And the opposition is trying to break India apart. The Chinese will take a large chunk, the Bangladeshis take another chunk, the Pakistanis will take another lot, leaving only a little bit for him to control. Even that he won't be able to do. Well, folks, please spread this one as far as you can. Your own groups, your own friends, your own relatives. Ask them to send it on further. Because believe me, this is not a joke anymore. It's not only psychological, it's physical, and it's emotional as well. And we have to fight like hell to resist it all. I know we've survived for centuries. But this time, there's a lot of scientific effort gone into it. It's not a joke anymore. The threat is very real. And don't forget it. Join all the dots to get the picture. If you still don't want to listen, there's not much I can do. All the best. See you.